truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. I'm in the WYSL studio, but today I don't have Bob Savage with me. Actually, Bob is out and about. He's working on, the 92.1 FM station we have. And I've got some really cool news for you. The antenna's been moved up on the tower a bit, and as of about an hour ago, we're now transmitting at 2.5 times the power. So Radio Free New York is actually the first live show on WYSL that's transmitting with the new power, the new coverage, all of that great stuff. So it's very exciting. It means, if you're listening on the radio airwaves on 92.1, you're actually going to be able to hear it just, further out. So if you're driving, you don't have to worry about, switching to the AM station or maybe jumping over on the live stream. So very cool stuff. I'm sure we'll have some new coverage maps up on the website soon if they're not already there. And so that's why Bob's not with me today. But with that being said, since Bob's not with me today, I'm going to need you guys to help me out. So make sure you guys jump on the live stream if you can. Head over to Facebook, go to Andrew C. Hollister. Make sure you're on the live stream. If you got some comments or questions, feel free to put them in. I'll see them here. I see Sean is already popping in some comments in here. You can jump on YouTube. You can jump on Twitter, whatever's convenient for you. And of course, you can always call into the station as well. Number is 585-346-3000. Once again, that's 585-346-3000. So just to kind of kick off the show today, this show is about my experience early voting in New York. So for those of you who may not be aware, early voting started Saturday. It was the first day in New York State that we have early voting, not to be confused with like an absentee ballot vote, which is when you mail your vote in. This is actually showing up and voting at a polling site before the general election date, which is November 5th. Guys, election day is November 5th. Make sure that if you don't come out any of these days for early voting, that you absolutely get out for November 5th and vote for your elected officials. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you guys my experience with early voting, kind of everything surrounding those details. And then I want to talk with you guys about splitting the vote, because there's some negativity surrounding early voting. There's also some negativity around third-party candidates, independent candidates, minor party candidates, that's starting to surface now that the polls are open. And I want to address those issues with you guys. I want to make sure that you guys are aware of what those issues are or aren't, kind of dispel some of the myths, have a conversation with you guys about them, and how we have the opportunity to really start making some impactful change here locally. So, but before we jump into all that, let's go ahead. Let's talk about my experience. I have, what I'm wearing now, which is actually pretty cool. I don't have it on me, but I have it on my jacket, my I voted today sticker. So when I did vote, I got the I voted today sticker. And if you go out and vote and you do the early voting, I would encourage you to not just take that sticker, but actually wear it, and wear it every single day all the way through election day. And the reason is people are stopping me in the store, stopping me at places where I, am out to eat, that sort of thing. And they're saying, wait, is voting day today? I thought voting day was until November, which is awesome because it opens the door for a conversation with people to talk with them about the fact that, yeah, if for some reason they can't make it on election day, or that's like a difficult time for them, they can actually go out and vote now. And we're going to talk a little bit about, like, I know some of you listening to the show are probably like very much against early voting, and I'm going to address that issue with you guys. We're definitely going to talk about it because I know some people are really, really against it. I see you guys on social media. Some of you guys are very unhappy with it. We'll talk about that, and I will do my best to explain your side of the story as you've expressed it to me online. So number one thing, if you do vote early, get your I voted today sticker and wear it all the way through election day so that people, it just raises awareness. It raises awareness. People go, oh crap, yeah, I need to vote. And now they're seeing these stickers, and it might give you the opportunity to talk with them about a candidate that you really hope gets elected. And that, I think, is really, really powerful. You know, somebody stops you in the grocery store and says, wait, was I supposed to vote today? And you can just explain to them like, well, early voting's now, you've got however many days left, you can vote, or you can wait till the general election day. Hey, do you know how you feel about this candidate? I'm really excited about them. I'm so happy I got the chance to vote for them. I'm really, really excited. I hope you consider voting for them too. And there you go. Your little I voted today sticker not only does it encourage somebody to vote, but it opens the door for you to talk with those people about a candidate that you really believe in, that you trust, that you really, really hope gets elected. So that's enough about the sticker. Once again, just wear it. It's cool. It's awesome. All right. So early voting in New York. I'm going to share with you my experience. Experience number one for you guys, as I was walking in the doors at the polls, was that people were genuinely excited. I mean, it was really cool. There was a fair number of young people there. All the poll workers, okay, so I'm in IT, right? I'm just going to do this as a little aside for you guys. I'm in IT. I work with technology every single day. And I know, especially for people who have maybe used paper most of their life for their job, it is really, really, really difficult to switch over to electronic. It doesn't matter what it is. I do it a lot with medical. I do it with insurance companies. I do it with, various industries, and it's across the board. People don't like change. And when change incorporates technology, when they're used to paper, it really it can really throw people for a loop. It makes them very upset, nervous. I would like to say that I believe that our local board of elections must have done a great job training their poll workers, because when I walked through the door, none of them looked stressed. None of them looked confused. None of them looked worried. None of them looked out of their element. Like I said, I work in IT, so I'm used to seeing people stressed, worried, everything about technology every single day. Software company pushes out an update to them for the software they use daily. It really throws them for a loop, gives them a hard time. This wasn't the case. When I walked in, people had smiling faces. They were getting along. They didn't look stressed or worried. Now I came in maybe midday, but it was midday on the very first day. So I was kind of expecting things to be kind of bumpy, kind of glitchy, but that wasn't my impression. So first impression, people look happy, people look excited, and as I'm walking in, people are walking out who are really, really excited that they got to take part of a historic moment in New York State, which is the first day that you could vote early ever in New York. So it was pretty cool. It was actually mostly young people, to be honest. People that I would guess, they were probably under 30 years old. And but there were families there. There were people, there were certainly older people there as well. But the majority of the people that I saw at that time were younger people, which is very encouraging to me. So once again, I'm walking in here. There's somebody there greeting me with a smile and basically directing me to, an open table. So they had, I think there were 4 tables set up, if I recall, 2 iPads at each table, each iPad manned by a Board of Election staff person. I went up there, and the first thing they want to know is your name and your address so they can look up your voter record. Now, they did have the little barcode scanner things there, and I asked them about that. I said, hey, I heard that you guys were going to be able to scan originally driver's licenses. It sounds like it's actually going to be voter ID cards that you can scan, not driver's licenses. So that's pretty interesting because I know we've talked about on this show and in previous shows the idea of, people not being eligible to vote having driver's licenses, and those driver's licenses being the same as any other driver's license, and that potentially opening the door for voter fraud. This could change. This is like an ever evolving thing. So what they explained to me is next year you will actually be mailed your voter ID card, and that'll be unique to you, and that's what you will bring to the polls to scan that to get your voter record up and running. It is not up and running right now, at least not in Monroe County. I don't know about the other counties. It sounds like that might be a statewide thing. It's not going to happen until next year, but the equipment's already there. The scanner's already there. It's ready to go. I don't know if Board of Elections wasn't ready. Maybe the software isn't fully tested yet. I don't know. But the equipment is there. So they look up my voter registration right there. They have me sign the iPad right there. They compare my signature, and then right there on demand, they print out my ballot. So, guys, we're going to take a real quick break here. When we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you the remainder part of my experience voting for the first time as an early voter in New York. Explain to you the rest. We're going to talk about some of the concerns of voter fraud, all that good stuff, when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind And when building or updating your website, they're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're talking about my personal experience, early voting here in New York. First time we've had early voting. But before I dive into the remainder of that experience, I want to remind you guys that supporting this show is what keeps us on the air. So if you enjoy the content on the show, if you enjoy the information, the knowledge that I share with you guys, the research I do to give you guys as much information as possible to be informed, please consider heading over to patreon.com/RFNY. Once again, that's patreon.com/RFNY, stands for Radio Free New York. And consider just, subscribing to support the show. You can do so at any level. Every little bit helps. Helps makes it possible so I can bring this content to you. As a libertarian, I always believe that people will fund something voluntarily if they find value in it. So if you find value in the show, if you like what I bring to you, maybe consider helping me out. So that's it on that front. Let's talk more about early voting, what that experience was like, what it looked like. So before the break, I told you guys how I walked in. They had the iPad. They looked up my voter record. I signed right there on the iPad. They compared my signature. And then they printed out my ballot on demand right then and there, put it in the folder, handed it to me, and I went down the hall and into a room. So then at that point, everything was very similar to how I normally vote. I go into my little cubby here. There's a black marker for me. I open up my ballot. There's the same ballot that I saw on the Board of Elections website for my district, all the candidates that I knew who were running for office. So all that worked. I got the correct ballot for me. I had the referendum on the back, everything. So I then proceeded to look column by column and line by line at all the candidates, found the candidates that I intended to support, the ones that I did the research on, the ones that I was comfortable with, the ones that I knew were going to represent my values and my principles. So I was happy. I filled in my circles as good as I could, with all my practice from those Scantron sheets and, middle school and high school. Closed it back up, walked to the ballot box, and everything was the same. So, the guy, there's people there to assist if I had any questions. Of course, hey, have you voted before? Do you know how to do this? And I've done this a couple times. So I go ahead, I feed the machine. I asked the guys to take a picture of me while I was doing it because I thought that was important for me to post on social media, showing people that I was out voting. And I would encourage you guys to do the same thing. Hand your cell phone to the voter person. Some may or may not be comfortable with it. You can't take a picture of your ballot, though. There's certain laws surrounding that. I don't quite recall what they are, but look them up. You can't take a picture of your ballot, but you can have somebody take a picture of you casting your ballot. So do that, post it on social media and say, hey, I voted today. I think you should too. And just put out there, once again, guys, we want to encourage people to vote. Voter turnout in New York State is very, very bad. We need to get people out to vote. And I think that people are very scared of early voting, and I'll address those very shortly, but don't be afraid of it. go out and vote. So after I cast my ballot, they take my folder, out I go. I thank the Board of Elections people. I actually saw somebody I knew who worked for Board of Elections. I didn't know they worked for there, so that was pretty cool. I got to say hi to them. They were happy to see me. Everybody was like happy, And then when I leave, I see more young people who are really, really excited, taking pictures, doing selfies, saying like they're just so excited that early voting is here and that they could come out and vote. So that was my experience. I was very happy with it. It was very smooth for me. It didn't feel any longer or shorter than any other ballot I've ever cast. It might have been a little bit faster because, they had to flip through the books and find your name and your address and stuff. This time they didn't have to do that. They just keyed in my name, my address, and pop, there it was, my voter record, sign it, compare it. Done. So I think it was about the same amount of time. I don't think it was any faster or slower. So this, I think, is a really appropriate time to address the not elephant in the room, but the thing that people are worried about or they're against. Those of you who are really opposed to early voting. I'm going to preface this part of the conversation with, since I registered to vote, I have voted every election day, every primary. I have not missed a single election since the day I voted. If you were to look up my BOE Board of Elections record, you'll see that most campaigns, if not any campaign, who is prepping for an election and they're targeting voters, my record would be marked as a prime voter. I am somebody who, if you look at my voting history, I voted in every election, which means the campaigns, when they're targeting people, they know that I will show up to vote. So they want to reach me and they want to convince me that their candidate is the right one because my vote counts, because they know I will show up. If you come to just every other election or you miss your primaries, you only vote in the general, you're potentially not a prime voter. They're not sure if you're going to show up. They're not sure if it matters to reach out to you to try to win your vote because you're not there consistently. So I say that to let you guys know, I have never missed an election. I've never missed a primary. But with that being said, even though I've never missed an election, that doesn't mean that someday I might not. Things happen, right? I'm a small business owner. I'm on call 24/7. I don't get to choose when my customers have emergencies. I get to set my schedule a little bit. I have a little bit of flexibility, but if somebody calls in and they have an emergency, I need to get up and go and take care of that emergency. And that emergency might not even be in Monroe County. So that might take me away from the polls for the day. And I don't know what time I'm coming back. Now, thankfully, that's never happened. I haven't been in a situation where I have, car trouble or an emergency where, say I planned on voting at 6 or 7 o'clock at night when I get out of work. And at 5 o'clock, I get a call and a family member is in a car accident or in the hospital or something. And then I have to leave and go, be with them and support them and take care of them and go through a tragedy or something like that. All of those things are possible. That could happen to any one of us at any given time. And we would be forced to sit there and think about, what do I do? My family needs me. So clearly I'm going to go, be with my family and take care of my family. But in doing so, I may sacrifice my right to vote, which could also, by the way, impact my family and my life and my taxes and everything else that voting impacts. So it's one of those things that, yes, you can totally make time for it. But I think that, people sometimes forget you need to balance work, family, all of your other commitments. And we don't live in a society like we did 50 or 60 years ago. We live in a 24/7, always running society. People are busy. Things happen. We literally used to live in a society where businesses would close by 5 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday, grocery stores and everything else would be shut down. It was just like a ghost town, and people would spend that time with their families. We don't live in that society anymore. We live in a society where people work every single day of the year. They work through federal holidays. They work through, Thanksgiving. People don't even, places don't close for Thanksgiving anymore. A lot of places are open for Christmas Eve, maybe even Christmas Day. I'm not sure. We live in a society where everything is open all the time, which means people are working all the time. And sometimes they're working back to back, multiple jobs to make ends meet for their family. That's just the fact of how life is right now. So I say all that to say voting only on one day, I believe personally, is an archaic system. I think it's extremely old-fashioned. I think it's a model that's going away. I think that scares a lot of people, but I think that you don't need to be afraid of it. I think that it's something that you can embrace and understand that it's not going to be a bad thing. Long term, I think it's going to be a better thing. And I think that people should be open-minded to it. I'm seeing people on on social media kind of attacking other people for wanting to vote early or engaging in early voting, which I find weird and strange. I see people saying things like, well, I always make time to vote on election day, or no thanks, no early voting for me. I vote on the right day. Guys, any day that's available to you to vote is the right day to vote. You shouldn't be putting people down for voting. That to me is just so silly. And when I see these comments, they're not directed towards me, so I'm not saying this to defend the fact that I voted early. No, I'm saying this because I want to expand people's open-mindedness here on this issue. We have a severely low voter turnout. We need to fix that. If one of the ways to fix that is telling people that they can vote on a different day, I think that's an awesome idea. And I also think it's really silly of us as a society to say, hey, you know what? You can only vote, for your rights one day a year. And if for some reason something happens, whether it's outside of your control or not, and you can't make it, guess what? You have no say. You've lost your right to vote for that year. I think that's just not a good way to do it. So we're going to take a break. When we come back from this break here, I want to address some of the issues of voter fraud associated with early voting, because I think it's really, really important that we talk about that issue. It's real. And we should just have a conversation about it. So, guys, we'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open daily. Avon Gun, East Main Street, between the Bank of Castile and Charlotte's Web of Odds and Ends.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL. AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, just talking about early voting in New York. This is the first time we have early voting, explaining to you guys my experiences, how I felt about the situation, but also talking about why I think it's so important for people to not just engage in early voting, but also to not oppose people for early voting. One of the things that I'm definitely like, let me tell you a little bit about how I feel about early voting if you're just joining the show. I think that early voting is a good thing. I know some of you are nervous about it. Some of you are worried about it. I'm going to address that here in a moment. But this is really no different than when we extended, the First Amendment to television, to radio, to the internet. Early voting is that next logical step in technology. Like, our voting in general is actually way, way, way behind in technology. Way behind. We're still using paper ballots. We just recently kind of switched, and recent is kind of like a relative term, right? But to having the scanned ballots. In terms of technology and where we are today, our electoral system is actually very much behind. Like, we're nowhere near cutting edge by any means, is like really, really far behind. The only thing further behind is probably the way we do our New York State pistol permits. If you have a papal permit and you go to the county and they type with a typewriter your pistol and its serial number on the back of your permit, that may very well be the more archaic system, but it's probably the only one. So with that being said, I think it's really important to discuss voter fraud, because I've seen a number, and not just a number, like many comments on social media, whether it's on my page and various groups, all over the place, of people saying, yeah, early voting's so bad because it gives the Democrats more time and ability to tamper with the elections, or it creates a better environment for voter fraud, and like a number of things like that. That I want to address from my perspective. Maybe at some point in time we can get somebody from Board of Elections on the phone to discuss it a little bit more from their perspective. But I want to start off with Board of Elections is actually co-ran by the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay, so when you're at the polls, there's supposed to be an equal number of Democrats and an equal number of Republicans there to ensure that the election goes on fairly and is untampered with. Why is it the Democrats and the Republicans? It's actually determined by the gubernatorial election in New York State. Whichever two parties get the most votes towards the gubernatorial candidates those are the parties in charge of Board of Elections. That's why the Republican Party was so afraid of taking third place instead of second place that they focus a lot more of their time and energy like attacking the Libertarian campaign instead of attacking the Cuomo campaign, because they were worried. They knew they weren't going to win the governorship, but they were also really worried that they'd lose control of Board of Elections. So, just a little tidbit of information there for you guys. But it's ran by both parties, whatever to get the top votes in the gubernatorial election. I personally hold our Board of Elections on the state level and the county level and everywhere in between in very high esteem. Every single person I've worked with at Board of Elections has been very impartial, regardless of what side they were on. They have given me advice that was true and I believed to be true at the time I was given it. It was correct and in my best interest. They didn't try to steer me in any wrong direction. So, and this is like working with people on state Board of Elections that don't know me. Some people might say, well, yeah, in your county, they know who you are. They don't want to get a bad rep for, this or that. No, I'm talking even about, when I was a treasurer, working with like Board of Elections compliance to make sure that all the treasury stuff was correct, all the way through being a candidate on a local level and a state level. Anybody I've interacted with at Board of Elections has always been very good, very fair, very honest, and I never felt misled. So I want to put that out there to you guys because I don't want you guys fearing Board of Elections. I don't want you guys looking for a conspiracy if there is not one. Okay. Now, that's not to say I don't want you to be still critical. Of course, we should look at Board of Elections and be critical of how they do things to make sure that they are always doing things fairly and impartially and correct, because our elections are so important, So with that being said, I want to say this, which, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. This may rub them a certain way. But what I'm going to say is, since Board of Elections is ran by both Democrats and Republicans, and since Board of Elections is supposed to have an equal number of Republicans and Democrats working at each polling space to keep both parties accountable to the people and to each other to make sure there is no election fraud, then I am going to say that the only way that we can have election fraud, at least in New York State, is for Democrats and Republicans to work together to allow that fraud to happen. So I'm going to say that again. If you're a Democrat and you're worried about Republicans creating voter fraud, if you're a Republican and you're worried about Democrats creating voter fraud, the only way that that's going to happen that I see, and somebody may feel differently about this, is for the Democrats and Republicans to work together to allow that fraud to happen. That's the only way I see it happening. If anybody feels differently about that, please feel free to call into the show, 585-346-3000. Some other things you guys might not know. When those ballots are scanned, you can request those ballots after the election. I think they're kept for 30 days. After that 30 days, I believe they're destroyed. If somebody knows if that's accurate, please feel free to comment in or call in. But I know, for example, after the gubernatorial election, ballots were requested and, scanned copies were given. So if that's one of those things you're thinking, hey, what if the machines change the votes, this or that, you're in a local election, you can request those ballots. Definitely the candidates can. I don't know if just anybody can. That's a question I don't know the answer on. But you could call up your local Board of Elections and say, hey, what do I got to do to get a copy of all the ballots for this election? That is something that there is a legal process to do and was done last year. So if you were that worried that the machines are changing your votes, then you could request the ballots and look for yourself. Now, my personal opinion is, I believe that when you put your ballot in the machine, it should give you a receipt showing exactly who you voted for and read out to you where it totaled your votes. The fact that we don't get that does rub me wrong. I do not like that when I cast my vote, I just get a little thing that says casting ballot and that's it. I want a printed receipt that says your ballot was cast at this time at this location, and you voted for these people for these offices. Like if I got that, I would feel way, way better about it. That's me personally. You may feel differently, and that's okay. But there's one other thing that I do want to address. Being in tech, knowing how these things work, I have not worked specifically with these machines or the software. I'm just disclaiming that. But as somebody who works in tech and sees the checks and balances that happens in tech, I want to say that I truly believe that if voter fraud was going to be happening, it is way, way easier with a paper ballot and a lever than it is with the digital system that we have and with the direction this digital system is going. So I'm going to put that out for you guys, because now what you have is a reduction in the ability for humans to make errors. So now you have somebody pulling up a digital record of your voting file and marking you as signed in to vote, which means you can't show up later and sign in again. You know, there's a digital copy of that. There's no like, oh, there's a sheet in a book and maybe the wrong page was flipped, or maybe the page wasn't even checked. You know, maybe you just got a ballot. Maybe you just received a ballot. I mean, think about it. Before this digital system, if you want to talk about voter fraud, who's to say somebody couldn't just slip a couple extra ballots to somebody and let them feed the machine that way? That could be a possibility, right? With this system, your ballot's printed on demand. So, and the only way to print that ballot is for somebody to sign in. So if there's no digital record of somebody signing in and putting that signature in an iPad, it can't even find a ballot to print out for you. So like these sort of things, I know they seem scary, but to me in tech, like I look at this and go, this is better checks and balances. This is a way to truly see, like there shouldn't be any extra ballots. There shouldn't be, because you can't print the ballot without the voter record coming up. Now, I don't know that that's going to be the case on election day. On election day, those ballots might already be printed and waiting for those sites. So there's a possibility that if there was voter fraud, it's not going to happen with early voting. It's going to happen on the general election day. So that's something I want everybody to think about. You know, if you can't even get a ballot for your district without signing in because the system won't give it to you, like that's decent security. I'm okay with that. But if there's piles and piles of ballots just sitting there at a BOE site and somebody gets a couple extra ballots to feed into the machine, there's no record of that. There's no way to know, you know? Now, theoretically, because you have an equal number of Democrats and Republicans at the polls, that should never happen, right? Because the Democrat, if a Republican was doing it, would be like, whoa, what are you doing? Where'd these ballots come from? You can't put these in the machine. Or if it was a Democrat, the Republicans just stand up and be like, hey, what are you doing? You can't put extra ballots in the machine. You can't give somebody that. Like, that's the accountability that the system is supposed to have. So that's it, guys, on the voter election fraud piece there with the electronic ballots. I think it's really, really important to share that with you guys so that you guys are a little more at ease about this. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you about Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, what she said about early voting. And then we're going to talk about the false narrative of vote splitting in New York State. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe safe and secure. Whenever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant with casual atmosphere at the newly renovated Rochester Public Market. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough, house-made fresh pasta, desserts, and gelato. Enjoy craft beers, imported Italian and New York State wines. Open Wednesday through Saturday for lunch and dinner. Wednesday evenings enjoy no corkage fee, and Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705 for reservations. View the menu on the web. restaurantfiorella.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're just wrapping up the discussion about early voting, voter fraud, all that, good or bad stuff. I do have a comment here on Facebook from Patrick. Patrick says, the Democrats have been working with the Republicans, and the proof is in all the new laws that have been shoved down our throats. So no, I don't trust either party. Patrick, if you don't trust either party, I am happy with you on that. Absolutely. The point I'm trying to convey with Board of Elections and with how the two parties are running Board of Elections is that if you trust your party and you're a Republican or a Democrat, then you should not be concerned about voter fraud. If you believe that the Republicans are going to maintain the integrity of the election, then you don't have to worry about it. If you believe that the Democrats are going to maintain the integrity of the election, then you don't have to worry about it. One or the other. But if you believe that neither party has your best interests in mind and that they are corrupt and that they are willing to engage in voter fraud, then yes, you should still be worried about voter fraud. Absolutely. So that's a great clarification. If you don't trust either of the parties, then you could still be worried about voter fraud. But if you think only one party is engaging in it, the way the process works, one party can't engage in it without complicity from the other party. So that's the message I have for you guys. So before I move on to this next piece about vote splitting in New York, I do want to bring up that Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul did not know when early voting started in New York, even though her and her party were the ones that put this together and pushed it through. So from her Facebook account on Sunday, she posted wow, she's so happy to be voting on the very first day of early voting and, this historic event. And it had actually started the day before. She didn't actually know when it started. So that was kind of comical. It was funny. I left kind of a snarky comment for her about it. But it's just come on, you should know these things, especially if you help pass it. But that's government out of touch with the people. We're well aware of that here in New York. So as the elections are getting closer, people are out voting already with early voting. there's a discussion about vote splitting in New York. People always get antsy about this when third parties are running. And in Monroe County, we have multiple third-party candidates. Libertarians are running a lot of candidates. So there's a whole slate on most of the ballots in the county right now. And I'm going to just read to you guys this little blurb I found on Wikipedia, of all places. But it says, historically, the Democrat and Republican parties have benefited from the alleged spoiler effect created by the existing U.S. plurality voting system. This benefit is based on the theory that not voting for other parties and for independents, and that third parties and independent candidates themselves declining to run, means to avoid wasting votes or splitting the vote, causing an election result not wanted. So what's that mean in a few shorter, less wordy words here? That means that the Democrats and the Republicans are benefiting from our voting system as it is today because they use it as an excuse to push out independent and third-party candidates by pushing this kind of fear campaign, if you will, that says, well, hey, if you have a third party run and they're kind of similar to me, maybe they're even better on the issues than I am, you can't let them run because we'll just split the votes between the two of us, and then the other party that you don't like will win. So don't vote for them. It's scary. It's awful. I know I'm not what you want, but I have a better chance because I have money and power. Therefore, ignore what you want. Go with something you want less, but not the worst thing you can find. That's kind of what's happening here. So, there's a couple people that are like, wow, I'm so angry that libertarians always, split the Republican conservative vote and get Democrats elected, which, guys, Libertarian Party got ballot access last November. So just by default, that hasn't been happening. Now, there are cases where libertarians have been able to get on the ballot without ballot access. That's a long, lengthy process. We'll save that for another show as well. But just know the Libertarian Party, this is their first year on the ballot officially. So for the people who are throwing out this whole oh, this is what's happening, this is why we have all these elected Democrats, that's just a false narrative being pushed by candidates who are scared of losing their elections because there is a better candidate. And that's something that we should all really discuss and think about, is the fact that if somebody wants another person pushed out of the race, you should wonder why, because that the candidate that's best on the issue should be the one to win. Now, we know that's not true because money, political ads, media, name recognition, all these other things. But if somebody says, hey, this person's too close to me, then what they're saying is they differ on a few issues, and that other person is probably way better on those issues than they are. So yeah, they don't want that competition because they know they have two things to do. They have to either themselves become better on the issues or accept that they're not going to get better on the issues because maybe their donors aren't going to let them, and that they could suffer a defeat by not doing what the people want, which is exactly the purpose of our electoral system. So what the Democrats and Republicans are essentially saying is they don't want competition. I'll give you guys a really good example. In Rochester, New York, we really only have two internet and phone companies, and people are always just really upset all the time because it's just those two. So they're always choosing the lesser of the two evil. Who's going to give me slightly better customer service, who's going to give me maybe a little bit better pricing, but they treat you like crap constantly. That's what we have with our elections right now, and then you've got a third party ISP coming along, and wow, it looks like they're going to give better speeds and better pricing, and people want that, but they're being kind of pushed around. They're not quite available yet. That's what's going on with politics, with the Republicans and the Democrats trying to push out third-party candidates. Now, that's not everybody. I mean, some Republicans and some Democrats are extremely welcoming of the third parties and excited about it and want to be a part of it, and we've seen that in this election. But what I want you to know is this third-party vote splitting is a false narrative. It literally almost never happens. Almost never happens. There's one instance in 1912 that it happened. There was another instance in, I think it was 1968 that it happened. So we're not talking about like an every election thing here. And the parties that happened with, they don't even really exist today. So don't fall for that, guys. What you have is you have people who are just a campaign strategy to try to scare you into voting for the less of two evils. And when you look at things like I said, like the internet company and the phone company, and you're stuck there constantly picking between the lesser of two evils and always wishing that a better option would come about, what you're potentially doing, you're doing that with politics. You're saying, wow, these suck. I wish something better would come about. And then when something better comes about, you go, yeah, but I'm not really sure. Like, what if that one goes out of business and then I'm stuck with one of the other two crappy ones? Like, you're already stuck with them. So why not take the chance to actually enact change? Is it going to happen overnight? No, it's not. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight. But what I am going to say is it's never going to change if you don't start moving forward to make that change. That's what needs to happen. So, yes, are the Republicans scared? Are the Democrats scared of vote splitting? Sure they are. Because you know what? They're scared of it because what the Libertarians and other third parties, I'm using the Libertarians as an example because I'm a Libertarian, but there are other third parties. They're worried because, on the Republican side, they're better with small government. They're better with Second Amendment issues. So, yeah, the Republicans are nervous about that because they haven't been holding true to that. The Democrats are scared, too, because they're good on social issues, good on criminal justice, which they say they're about, but they haven't been good on that. So, yeah. That's what's going on. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York. I've got guests coming in Friday and Monday, so I hope you guys join me, 1 p.m.